Okay, so today's video is going to be a little different from my normal video, and I'm going to work on this bathroom latch. So I've already removed it, but this is something that's been bothering us ever since we got our coach. And there's a few things about it. One of them is the spring is loose, it doesn't stay very well, and so often as you're driving down the road, this thing will pop open, the bathroom door will swing back and forth. It blocks the vision out the back using the rear view mirror, and so then we need to go close the door. So we're always kind of fighting that. So the spring is a problem, and there's also no handle on the inside. So with this knurling on the base of this post here, I would imagine that there probably used to be a handle that slid onto this and was basically permanently attached to this metal rod. And at some point in its history it probably broke or fell off, and so now we just have the rod. And you can see even a little bit of a mark in there where the handle used to be. So that would be nice to replace. And because there's no handle, this thing moves back and forth, which then means that this twists because it comes out of the slot that it fits into, which then confuses people. They wiggle this and try to turn it instead of sliding it, and so that's a bit of a problem too. So I really want to try to make the spring stronger. I also want to get some kind of handle on here, and I want to keep this from moving back and forth. So there's a few things to do here. I did find that this is still available. There's a company that makes it. It's kind of expensive though. It is apparently about a $120 to $150 part, and I'm sure it's worth that much. This is a really nicely built product, and I'm sure it would be worth the money to buy a new one, but I feel like this one probably still has some life in it. I think I can probably make this work for me without needing to spend the money on a new one. The cost of this is probably pretty reasonable. I looked up this company. It's Actron Manufacturing Company, and it looks like they make latches for like airline applications. And so this is probably designed to take a lot of use and really last a long time. So my hope is that I can repair it and get a lot more life out of it before I need to go ahead and buy a brand new one. Alright, so I got this fully disassembled, and right away I found a problem with the spring. So the spring was in two parts, which is not good, and so that definitely needs to be replaced. And the rest of the pieces look pretty good. I mean, there's definitely some wear on this. I think as I put everything back together, I'll do some lubricating. I went to the hardware store and found a new spring, and unfortunately I couldn't find one that was the exact same length as the spring that it originally had. But when I checked kind of how firm this spring is compared to this spring, this one is a little bit easier to compress, and so even though it's a little bit longer, I think it'll be okay. And I did check, so it fits into the back of this just like the old one did. And when I put this together, so it goes together like this, that spring slides in and it does compress all the way, and it doesn't feel too hard. It's pushing against the piece of metal there. So I think that actually is going to be okay, even though this spring is a bit bigger. So one problem solved. The bigger challenge is the handle for this. I hoped that I could find some kind of plastic handle that I could just slide on and use that knurling that was already there. I found some metal ones, I found some wood ones, nothing that really looked like it would work very well. And so what I think I'm going to do, I got a little aluminum sleeve, and I bored it out a little bit so that I can press it on to that knurled part, so it doesn't quite go on just as it is. It's close, but I think I'll be able to pretty easily press that on. And then I got a brass knob, and it's a little bit too big to fit on here. I could probably rethread this and get a little bit smaller one that I could thread on, but I don't really want to destroy that shaft in case I come up with a better solution later. So my thought is I'll press the aluminum sleeve on and get it to the point that if we, if this is going through here, that it needs to be at the right depth, so I don't have the housing here, but this handle fits into that slot, this threads in, and I want that aluminum sleeve there to keep all of this tight. And then I'll be able to put this on, and I think what I'll do is just use maybe some shrink wrap, or the kind of wire protector that I can heat shrink on there, and then that'll give me a little bit of something to thread this onto. I think it'll keep it secure. I'll put a little bit of Loctite, blue Loctite on the threads, and I think I'll be able to get all of this nice and tight, and then this won't twist or turn anymore because it's fitting into this slot like it should. This, I think, will be a reasonably good handle on the inside, and with the new spring, I think this will end up being a pretty good solution. Okay, so this went together really nicely. I used some of the heat shrink on the end of the shaft here, and with the knurling and the threads inside of this brass knob, it threaded on nice and tight. I pressed on the aluminum sleeve. I had to bore it out just a little bit so it would fit over some of the knurling to get the right length there. But overall, this went together nice and tight, and I think that'll be a nice knob for the inside of the bathroom. So if we take a look at how this is going to go together, and I'll just put it together temporarily here so we can just see how it's going to work. But put this knob on the inside. This goes back here. I won't put in the screws for this yet. I'll just kind of give an idea of what it's going to be like. So that tightens down nice and tight. And if I had my screws in this, I would be able to move that very nicely. The spring feels good. And then over here on the other side, that also, it works nicely and it doesn't rotate or twist anymore. So I think this is going to be a great solution. I'll put a little Loctite on the threads where it screws into this, and I think we're going to have a fixed bathroom latch. All right, it works. The latch is nice and tight. I've got it reinstalled here. The outside doesn't twist anymore. The inside comes down nice. There's a good tight feel to it. The spring tension is great, and so it latches very nicely here to the latch, or the catch. And I like the small handle. That aluminum bushing that I put in there has a nice fit inside of the slot that it moves in. And so I think it's working great. I really like the results, and hopefully this lasts for a long time.